Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, I decided that I wanted to make sure that my wife had a big smile on her face this morning, so I'm no longer allowed to have Sharpies in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at War of 1812 Solitaire from Worthington Publishing. In War of 1812 Solitaire from Worthington Publishing, the player goes ahead and takes on the role of the Americans during the War of 1812 as they attempt to invade Canada and keep the hated British from our soil. Essentially, what happens is this is a reverse states of siege game. The Americans are attacking into Canada along various tracks here. Now you have the various four different fronts that they're moving along. You have the American forces and the British forces along these tracks, little tokens. You also have, I think, four lakes, and they're either under American control or British control. Now, once the player has determined how many action points they have, they can spend those to take actions. Now, one of the actions you can do is actually attempt to attack the British forces. You roll the die. Depending on the die roll, you actually push the British back into Canada, and the American forces advance. For another action, you can also attempt to attack any British-controlled lakes. You can attack them, and if you are successful, you flip that over so that it is American-controlled. You can add a regular to your front, and that simply means that if you attack and you fail, you can flip it back to its normal side for a free reroll action. Now, some game effects will put a warrior token, a Northwest warrior token out. These are Native Americans that sided with the British. For an action, you can actually attack that token. If you're successful, you remove it and make your advance along the Northwest track much easier. Now, after you've taken your actions, you roll a die to determine what the British response is going to be. You consult the British chart, and there's all sorts of things. They may advance along their tracks. They may attack you along their tracks. They may attack your ships. They may add the warriors to the warrior section of the board there. There's different things that they can do in order to try to counterattack you. Now, the game ends instantly if the British occupy two original American settlements after game turn 4. They win. The game will also end if you play to the last game turn, and the game will end if you roll the peace event after game turn 16. Now, assuming you weren't defeated when the game ends, you go ahead, you look at the board, you determine exactly where your forces are, where the British are, and that's going to give you kind of your victory points to determine just what kind of a victory you've won in War of 1812 Solitaire. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, so War of 1812 Solitaire. This is another one of these kind of pocket solitaire games like Pacific War, 1942 Solitaire. Like I say, it's almost kind of like a reverse states of siege, where instead of them coming at you constantly, you're advancing on them, or at least pushing back there, trying to advance on them. And so it's a very interesting game. Now, this is a super simple game, and it is super dependent on luck, right? You're rolling dice left and right to advance along those tracks. You're rolling dice for the British to see what they do. So this is a very simple game, and it's a very luck-heavy game. There is some choices here. There are some choices. There are some things you get to do. But fundamentally, this is a game about how the dice rolls. And yet, like other great solitaire games, even with luck, it tells a great story. It reminds me a lot of the Worthington book war games that I'm such a fan of. This, of course, is a full board game, although be it very small. It looks beautiful. It's got great table presence, some great artwork, really stunning components, and simple little cardboard units there on the board. But it's really a lot of fun. I enjoy War of 1812 Solitaire. I think it's great. Having played this and the Pacific War, I probably would side with the Pacific War just because I think I like the theme a little bit better, but they're both tremendously fun games. On a Cody scale, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. If you're looking for a fun solitaire experience that is incredibly light, incredibly easy to learn and to play, you may want to check out War of 1812 Solitaire. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, I ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd ask you to please give a thumb to this video on YouTube and on Board Game Geek. And if you're so inclined, I'd ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. It would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. And if you really do appreciate the content we bring you on this channel, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I was out driving today and I passed a sign that said, "Watch for children." Seems like a fair trade.
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight.
Armor that keeps me from getting pierced by arrows.
That's the arrows of metaphorical arrows or real arrows?
I'm gonna say both.